Welcome to the biking portion of our active recovery practice. The active element associated with this practice is the air. In biking, you are literally suspended in air as you're on your bike and you're moving through space. Let's keep that idea of fluidity and floating, that light quality about us as we move through this practice. One of the really important ways that we can enhance our sport through the practice of yoga is really mastering what happens with our breath. So the first thing I want to do is a calming breathing style called whisper breath. We're simply going to breathe in and out through our nostrils with a little whisper in the back of our throat. Okay, so see if you can do this. Soft through the jaw, we're going to breathe in through the nostrils and back out through the nostrils. With that little whisper in the back of the throat, this is going to elongate our breath. Keep going. Inhale and exhale through your nostrils and practice this whisper style of breath. The other breathing exercise that I want to do really quickly before we jump into the physical part of our practice is what's called breath of fire. This is a breathing exercise that allows us to expand our capacity and raise our energy. And essentially what we're going to do is breathe in these short, quick spurt exhales out our nostrils like this. Now I'm breathing in between every one of those breaths, but I'm just emphasizing the exhale. So see if you can do this with me. I'm going to do a round of 25, but here's what this looks like. Let's try this. Okay, and then just go back to that ujjayi breath, that slow whisper breath, in and out through your nostrils. So let's incorporate that whisper breath as we do our yoga poses. Let's start this practice as we come to a hands and knees position. If you're hunched over your handlebars a bunch, it'll feel really nice to start to move through our spine in this cat-cow position. Inhale, chest forward. Exhale, draw your tailbone under. Let's remember our slow whisper breath here. Inhaling, pulling this forward, and exhale, round it back. Inhale, heart pulls forward again, and exhale, round it back. This time, neutralize your spine, walk your hands forward, and curl your toes under. We're going to lift back into a downward facing dog pose. I always like starting with my knees bent, even if I'm feeling flexible. I'm going to get my arms and spine straight, then begin to straighten my legs a little. If my heels can reach the floor, fantastic. If that's not me, bend your knees. But I'd rather see bent knees than this. You know, if your back's really round because your hammies are so tight because you bike a lot, keep your knees bent. Let's look forward to our hands, step our right foot forward, and place your left knee down to the floor. Just like we did in our run section, if you want to, you can grab your blanket and put that underneath your knee for a little support. Okay. First, I invite you to bend your front knee, put it right over your ankle, put your left toes on the floor. We're going to stretch our hip flexors, which are working constantly as we're riding our bike. Lift your pubic bone up and your collarbones. Now, I get a great stretch just by hanging out like this. But if you want to take it deeper, interlace your fingers and reach up to the sky. A couple of deep breaths here. If your lower back is sensitive here, put your hands on your sacrum and push down a little bit. Roll your shoulders back. As you exhale, straighten up your front leg, flex your toes back, and lean forward. Put your forehead in the direction of your shin. I get a great stretch in my calves and my hamstrings. All of these are working overtime as we do our bike. Push through the ball of your foot. Keep all these muscles active. Deep breath in and a long exhale. Just take it to that comfortable edge. I don't need to go too far into this. Okay? Then bend your front knee again. You're going to put your left hand over to the left, lean over to your side, reach back with that right hand, pick up your left foot, and as you pull your heel into your glute a little bit, stretch your quads, the top thigh muscles. These guys, again, doing all that cranking throughout the course of your cycling. Bend just enough to feel a comfortable stretch. You notice I'm on the very bottommost part of my quads. I'm not on my patella, the kneecap. If I want to take this deeper, I'll drop onto my elbow, tilt my head back. A couple of deep breaths, and then I want to bring this back out. And we're going to switch sides. So I'm going to put this blanket underneath my right knee, extend my left leg forward, start off with my hip over my knee, lean forward a bit, pubic bone lifts, collarbone lifts, reach this whole thing up if that serves me. And remember, if this is too deep, I'm going to put my hands on my thigh. The other thing I'm thinking about here is pubic bone lifting, tailbone dropping down. That orientation of the pelvis really punctuates that stretch right in the hip flexors. Those are our psoas muscles. Then with an exhale, I'm going to straighten this thing up. Flex my toes back toward my shin, pushing through the ball of my foot, and let my forehead move down in the direction of my shin. Again, I got to give myself a little bit of time here, right? The muscles need time to loosen up. They need breath in order to make that thing happen. Put all of your attention just right where you feel this. This is one way of adding the mindfulness aspect to our practice that will incorporate back into our sport. I'm going to bend that front knee, take your hand over the side, and again, as you lean over a little bit, reach back, grab hold of that foot, pull that thing in. If you lift your chin a little bit, that punctuates your stretch. Or drop your elbow all the way down to the floor and let this open up a little bit more. Deep breath. When you've had a good run with that, we're going to drop that foot back to the floor. Bring this slowly back up. Let's remove our stuff. And then put yourself back into a downward facing dog pose. Again, knees could be really bent here, or legs could be straight. Couple of breaths. Look forward to your hands. Step your feet forward on your exhale. As you breathe in, put a little bend in your knees. Stand all the way up. And then when you exhale, bring your hands together back down to your chest. Reach your arms back to the sky. Nice full inhale. And with this exhale, we're going to fold forward again. Relax your neck and shoulders. Little teeny bend in the knees, going to give us a great stretch for our lower back, our hamstrings and our calf muscles. Relax your shoulders and your neck. Especially if you're looking up as you're riding your bike, your neck's going to really appreciate this ease in your neck and shoulders in this posture. Lengthen out to a flat spine here. And then when you exhale, step back again to an upper push-up position. Set your shoulders right over your wrists. Use some core strength here. Squeeze your arms toward each other. Bend your elbows and lower all the way down to the floor. Prop up onto your elbows. As you bend, or your left elbow, bend your right knee, reach back around, grab your foot, and gently pull that foot in toward your glute for another stretch in your quads. You can also rotate your hand so your elbow points back, fingers point forward for a little bit more intense stretch. And if that's too much in your shoulders, just go back to what you had previous. Also, take your elbow out of the way. Put your forehead to the floor. That takes the lower back element out of this pose. Okay? And then after a couple of those, I'm going to switch it up. Maybe prop myself up onto my right elbow, bend my left knee. As I hold onto that thing, I can pull this in for a gentle stretch through my quads. Or reorient this, deep breath in, long exhale. Put your mind, your attention right on that spot where you're feeling the stretch. And then we'll release back down. Come to a hands and knees pose, and then as you exhale, we're going to curl up into a ball. This is called child's pose. Nice way to stretch passively these muscles in the lower part of your back. Just give yourself several slow breaths here. Ground to the floor. Now, as you inhale, let's move back to a hands and knees pose. I invite you to cross your ankles behind you and come to a seated position. Okay. From here, let's grab our right ankle and put it on top of your left knee like this. For those of us who've been cycling for a long time and maybe haven't taken the same sort of care of our hips as we have our bike, for example, our hips might be pretty tight. This knee might be hanging out up here, in which case grab your foam roller or your block and put that right there. This can be a pretty great stretch for our external hip rotators, namely our piriformis muscle. Another way to do this, if you're flexible, is to balance your ankle over your knee and your knee over your ankle and sit up nice and straight. Okay, this can be pretty intense. So again, if you're not that flexible, don't worry about it. But if this feels good, start to lean forward. Okay, and get this great stretch in the outside of my hip. Okay, take it to whatever degree it works for you. Improvise on this thing. Okay. Also, if I'm super tight at my hips, bring your knees wider. Hang out here. Deep breath in and out. Remember, breath, air is the whole element of this practice. Now, bring it up, and we're going to put this foot into our arm like this. Wrap around like you're cradling a baby or something. Interlace your fingers. Just sit up tall, and maybe do a little rock side to side. We wouldn't think of going and riding our bike with flat tires or wheel that's out of true with our spokes off, but we'll use this machine over and over again when it's totally not in tuned, right? So this is putting our body in an in-tune place so that we can, use this vehicle with optimal efficiency. Okay, and then just shake out that leg a time or two. I'm going to try the other side. I'm going to bend this knee and put my other ankle on top of my knee. Flex my toes back toward the shin. Okay, and again, I can hang out here or support myself with my block. Or if I'm feeling flexible, flex my toes and start to lean forward a little bit. Don't be surprised if one hip is tighter than the other, too. That's pretty common. And I'm going to give myself a couple of slow, deep breaths here. When this side feels like it's been balanced with the other side, then we're going to ease our way back upright. Slide this around, sit up nice and straight, pull my ankle up high. I'm going to pull that heel toward my armpit. You also notice on both sides I'm flexing my toe back toward the shin. That contraction makes it so I don't overly stretch ligaments on the outside of my knee. So let's do this. We're going to put our ankle to the outside of our thigh bone here. I'm not going to quite touch the floor. This foot comes in. I'm going to wrap my elbow around my knee. So opposite elbow to opposite knee. And I pull that thigh into my rib cage, sit up tall, and I get this wicked stretch here on the outside of my glutes. Okay? And I just root my sit bone right down into the floor. Lift up to the crown of my head. Feels great. A couple of deep breaths. This will feel great after a long ride. Put that foot down on the floor, and then bring your elbow to the outside of your knee and find a twist. So I'm going to sit up tall, pull my belly in, and find my twist as I move toward my left. A couple of deep breaths. This is a great way to mobilize your spine. We've been hunched over our handlebars over the course of our entire ride. Now we get a great chance to twist our spine, in the transverse plane rather than just back and forth. And then back to middle. Let's switch it up. So, pulls it over. I'm going to wrap my elbow around my knee, just hug that into my thigh and sit up straight. I think of my pubic bone dropping down, crown of my head pulling up, and again, I get this great stretch here. Not quite worried about a twist yet. First, just get that into the hip, give myself a few breaths, and as that foot then comes to the floor, then I'm going to try my twist. My elbow can come to the outside of my knee, pull that other shoulder back, and give myself a few breaths here. We use a lot of the same muscles in biking that we do in running. And so consequently, we can also use the foam roller in a lot of the same sort of ways. So first of all, it's really important that we get our quadriceps, the top thigh muscles, and the IT band, which is a band of connective tissue running down the length of our leg. And to get those rolled out with our foam roller is super beneficial. So again, I'm going to find myself sort of sideways on my foam roller, put this right against my hip, flex my toes, and then just roll along this thing, as slowly as I can in a way that feels great. I'm going to try to go all the way down to the outside of my knee and then slowly roll back up. Not pleasant. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? But super, super beneficial. And once I've gone a couple times back and forth, I'm going to start to roll over to the front of my leg onto my quadriceps and start to roll forward. back and forth a few times, and then just keep going. Now I'm on my other quad. Back and forth a few times before eventually I'll go all the way over to the other side. Okay. I can't overemphasize the importance of a foam roller. All the physical therapists I've talked to and sports trainers I've talked to have just raved about how much benefit, and personally I've gained so much benefit from this foam roller. I've practically worn this guy out. Even so, it's all like curved now because I've used this thing so much. It works great. To finish this portion of our active recovery practice, I'm going to utilize the wall. So I'm going to turn around here, move my candles out of the way so I don't catch myself on fire. And then I also want to make sure that I have one of my blankets readily available. I'm going to fold this over a little bit and put it to my side. I'm going to find myself up against the wall like this. And then in this position, I'm going to cross my right ankle over my left thigh, put my hands on my thigh, and gently bend my left knee until I feel a stretch here on the outside of my right hip. And if my butt ends up coming up off the floor, that means I'm a little too close to the wall. So I'll hang out here for a while. I can let my body really relax here. I would say hold this for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll straighten this thing up and we'll do the other side. So, this would be a great time to maybe pause your DVD and hold this for a little while as we do both sides. It's a great way to very passively start to stretch some of these muscles. After you've done both sides and they both feel loosened up, we're going to straighten both of our legs up against the wall. Grab your blanket, set that underneath your sacrum so your hips are just a little bit slightly elevated, and then we're going to relax here. And this is the way we're going to finish this portion of our practice in this resting pose. Let all this energy just drain down and relax into the floor. This is a great time to close your eyes and practice some of that mindfulness. Just focus on your breath. Breathing in and out. Let all of your attention rest on that one thing. Thank you for joining me for the biking portion of the active recovery practice. By moving through these poses and by moving through these stretches, it'll improve our riding greatly.